peoples of the worldwide federated internet. What's good? For the YouTube, Instagram, technocrat overlord censors, I'm going to give an opening statement for what I'm getting ready to say. Nothing that I'm getting ready to say is a statement of fact. These are, in fact, my opinions. I am not a doctor. I am not a specialist. I am not an infectious disease specialist. These are my opinions. Now, for the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, technocrat overlords, I have read your user policies, your agreements, your user policy agreements, and nothing in there does it state that I am barred from offering my opinion. Now, I am not offering any violent opinion. I am not calling for violence. I am not calling for anyone not to listen to specialists. I'm not calling for anyone not to listen to experts. So if this video is banned and my page is pulled because of it, I would like to understand what part of your policies did I violate. You got to give that disclaimer nowadays because the technocrat overlord censorship is real. Whether you believe it or not, it's a thing. I've already had a page banned, and to this day, I have no idea why it was banned. When I was out yesterday, I noticed something, and it's not like this is, any surprise. And like I said, definitely not coming from the standpoint of being an expert. I'm out and about, just stretching my legs, getting some air. Went to Barnes and Noble's, one of my favorite bookstores of all times. And I was going to look at some comic books in there. They have some graphic novels. I wound up looking at Bibles anyway. So left there, walking around, went to some other places. And the thing that is a little bit concerning for me, at least, when I walk around and I see people with mask on, and I posted a short video on my Instagram page about this yesterday. I'm kind of the best way to put it is it's psychologically disturbing to me. I feel like there's something that's missing when you can't see a person's face. And I was watching a video, as a matter of fact, the Joe Rogan interview where he interviewed Kanye West, which is it's a doozy. Listening to Kanye and trying to follow his thoughts is a doozy. Side note, I'm going to tell you where I kind of understand Kanye West, even though he's kind of insanely spastic. When Kanye West talks, for me, I kind of understand it because that's what my brain is like. When he's talking, that's what goes on in my brain. My thoughts are so spastic and I'm thinking so many things. And even though I know how my thoughts connect, to convey that to people is very complicated for me. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard to translate my thoughts and how they connect to the masses. It's a very hard thing to do. But anyway, walking around, I was bringing up what Kanye West said. He said something about not really being able to see facial expressions to read a person. One of the things that gets lost in translation over the internet when you're texting back and forth, when there's a debate or a discussion, is you miss facial expressions, you miss voice inflections, you miss many things that are cues physical cues to give you context to what's going on with a person. And I think the same thing is happening with these masks. There's really no true interaction. I'm an interactive person. Growing up in New York, growing up in Brooklyn, you didn't speak to people you didn't know. You didn't wave to people you didn't know. It's just something you didn't do. But when I went off to basic training and, been living outside of New York City and New York in general for almost 23 years now, you grow accustomed being in the South to waving at people, speaking to people, nodding, saying hi to people, smiling. And there is something regenerative about that. Not in a spiritual sense per se, but there's something good that comes from that, interacting with people in a good way. That's missing with these mask mandates. That's the first thing that just kind of, I don't know about you, it bothers me. And it's weird. It is weird for me because I can, again, this is not from the standpoint of me being a specialist, a scientist, or a doctor, infectious disease specialist. I'm none of that. And I don't really understand the ins and outs of all of that. I am not even going to feign to you like I do. But the one thing I do not understand, I can halfway understand wearing masks when you're inside a business in an enclosed area. What I do not understand is wearing a mask when you're out and about. We need fresh air. Look, I'm no scientist, but the one thing that I'm fairly confident about is we need fresh air. And something about putting a mask over your face while you're out and about in the open and not really getting fresh air is extremely unsettling to me. I don't see anything good coming from this. I don't see anything good coming from this at all. I don't think this is going to work out well, in my opinion. I don't think this is going to go over well. I don't think anything good is going to come from this. Just my opinion. I'm not a specialist, as I said. Another thing, and someone fact check me on this because maybe I'm wrong. I didn't really go digging too deep about this, so this is just my opinion, and it could be wrong. When all of the riots and the protests started, I remember thinking to myself, if we don't have a drastic, and when I say drastic, I mean dramatic increase in cases and deaths, to me, that's going to be suspect. Well, I think it's fair to say at this point, this is suspect. Now, there's been a quote unquote spike in cases, and in some states and in some areas, there has been, right? According to the information that we have. But I haven't seen a dramatic and drastic increase in cases that should have come as a result of these mass protests and riots. Think about it. Nobody was social distance in these protests and riots. Some people, all of the pictures I saw, for the most part, people had on masks. But now this is what I do know. Most people had on cloth masks and they were not N95 masks. Now, viruses are so many microns big or small, and cloth masks are not good enough to stop those viruses from getting through those micron size holes in that cloth. That's why you need an N95 mask. It's designed specifically to reduce the intake of particles that are so small, but most people are not wearing those masks. So with that being said, if the virus is as airborne and viral as they say, then these cloth masks should not help at all. They should do nothing. So with no social distancing, rioting and protesting for days on end, why have we not seen apocalyptic levels of death? As far as I know from the last thing I read, the death rate, even though people are dying, as a result of COVID, I'm not peddling some conspiracy. Again, for you technocrat overlords that are going to listen, I'm not peddling some conspiracy that the virus itself is not real. The virus is very real. It's contagious. It's dangerous. People die. Okay. That's out of the way, and I'm not making that a small thing. But what I'm saying is, have we made this thing bigger than it actually is? What is really going on? And again, I am not peddling some conspiracy, but what I find odd is it would appear as though the technocrat overlords at Twitter, Google, Facebook, Instagram, all the same company, are trying to get people to the point where they don't think. I remember, I can't remember who exactly said this to me, but I remember talking to someone years ago, and the statement that was made to me was pretty much, if someone doesn't want you to think, it's because there's something they don't want you to know and they don't want you to figure out. Again, this is not me peddling some conspiracy. All I am asking is, why is it that any page, any podcast, any video that questions, hey, what's going on? I noticed this, but I also noticed this. They're banned outright immediately for offering opinions. People who are just thinking out loud, who are saying, I'm putting these two things together and something doesn't make sense. So you're not allowed to think now across social media. These are private companies. I hear my libertarian brethren out there screaming, private companies, they can do whatever. I hear you. I'm not even making that argument. What I'm saying to these private companies is, there's a problem with me thinking. So is the policy on your platforms that if I make any content or create any content on your platforms, I have to divorce myself from thought and accept whatever you say, and then I can make content on your platforms? I'm just curious, because if there's one thing I've noticed throughout this whole Ronapocalypse, is the push from these technocrat overlords to move people away from independent thought. Why is that? There's only one reason I've ever seen in my lifetime, 41 years old, that someone doesn't want you to think independently. And the only reason, well, I guess kind of two reasons in one. They want control because there's something they don't want you to know or they don't want you to figure out. Again, I am not peddling a conspiracy. I am asking a question. Can we not ask questions anymore? It is a dangerous time, and it is a dangerous position if we are at the point now where questions cannot be asked. If I can't ask questions, that gives me more questions. Why don't you want me to ask questions? Why don't you want me to get a second opinion? Why don't you want me to look into anything that's going on? Why do you scrub into any counter narrative or any counter information from the internet? We live in a weird time, and this is what I mean. When you see and have doctors, there's this American frontline doctors. I'm not saying that everything they're saying is 100% true, but in one instant, you tell us we're to trust doctors and trust experts. Simone Gold, which I know I said her name now, so the YouTube technocrat overlord algorithm is going to look through this video and search everything that's said. And if I'm banned, I would like to know what I said that was against your policy. Simone Gold is not only a lawyer, but a board-certified doctor. So are all the people around her who are also doctors, and they have a different opinion than some other quote-unquote experts. I've known many people to be diagnosed with something and they go get a second opinion because maybe there's something that the first expert missed. Being an expert on something does not make you right all the time. Sometimes you're not thinking out the box. sometimes there's information you miss. We all do it. Sometimes we miss information and arrogance. So my only thing is, what really is going on? And these masks are, seeing people walk around masked up all day long, even outside, is supremely disturbing to me. Maybe it's just me. These are questions I have that I'm trying to get answers to. Y'all know what it is. Stay frosty, people.